So, Rulon, it looks as though the firm began somewhere around in 1979. Is that correct?
That's right. About 1979, basically, three of us came together that had been at larger law firms. Bruce Bogin had been at a large firm here in Orlando. I had been at the Holiday Knight Law Firm, and my brother Rainier had been at the Ackerman Law Firm, and we got together and formed what is now Bogin, Munns Munns, and that's how we started.
And you now are up to, is it 10 offices in 10 locations?
We have 10 offices in 10 different locations, and Orlando is our main office, but all of our other offices are active, and we see clients at them, and most of them have resident attorneys in them.
Okay, and could you tell me the other 10 offices?
Kissimmee, Deltona, Daytona Beach, Claremont, Leesburg, Melbourne, Ocala, Gainesville, and the Villages.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent. And that definitely covers a large surface of Orlando.
Yeah.
It looks as though the practice began more in injury and accidents, or
Well, not really. Actually, what happened is Bruce Bogin and I were both real estate lawyers, and we were a very small firm at the time, and we basically said, Bruce, you do the litigation, I'll do the real estate and transactional, non-litigation work. And my brother, who had been at Ackerman, Rainier, he did primarily insurance defense, and that's actually what we started out to do. But early on, he bumped into a couple of plaintiffs' cases and liked it, and so we started doing plaintiffs' work. So from our earliest days, really, we were a full-service law firm, and so started out with kind of that breakup, doing one of us doing the commercial litigation, one of us doing the transactional and corporate and tax and real estate, and one of us doing the injury type of work.
Okay. And I also noticed that you practice business law as well, which that looks as though it was integrated from the very beginning.
Yes, it was, and that was primarily what I did, was anything that had to do with corporations or real estate or tax, and in those days when there were only three of us, we were spread pretty thin, and so of course now with more we can narrow it down. In the early days I did all of that, but now pretty much practice solely in real estate. We have other people that do the corporate and the tax and the probate and that kind of thing.
Right. Approximately how many employees do you currently have under your belt?
Well, our total number of employees, if you count attorneys and staff, is about 85, I believe. And the attorneys we have right now is, I believe, we're around 36. So.
Okay. And that includes Rainier, yourself. You have Ryan and Stuart.
Spencer.
Right. And then there's also, I know you also have another son, I believe, that's part of the firm?
No, that's it. We have Rainier, and his son is Ryan, and myself, and my son is Spencer. So there are two brothers who both have sons in the firm. So there's a total of 4 of us with that direct family connection.
But that's an excellent way to build a family dynasty, as you know, we have seen happen in different areas. Let me ask you, I see also that you have the, almost like a mantra of that your law firm treats its clients with respect, okay? And you stress to be extraordinarily competent. That's a fantastic and lofty hill to climb, but obviously it served you well. Can you tell me a little about how you also go about differentiating yourself from the other law firms in the land?
Well, there's kind of 2 ways, really. As you know, marketing is a big part of the law practice these days, and there's lots of ways to market. And one of them, of course, is media marketing. And we didn't want to pass that opportunity to participate in media marketing, but we have very conscientiously tried to distinguish ourselves in our marketing in the way we present. Most of our ads that we do in social media or on the major media are almost like public service announcements. They have a message. They're very low key. They're not really much of a sales pitch. We don't want them to be. In terms of who we are and as a law firm, we just have always tried to create and maintain a culture where we just treat people really well. We do what we say we're going to do. We do it when we say we're going to do it. All clients are important, even the ones with little small matters, as well as our big corporate clients. And we've just tried to instill among all of our employees and attorneys this commitment to service and treating people the way you would want to be treated if you were, going to a law firm. And we think it's taken pretty well over the years.
Absolutely. I noticed that you are also engaged in philanthropic and volunteer efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to me a little about some of those things that are going on? Okay.
Yeah, sure. We haven't really tried to identify with one particular charity or one particular movement of some kind, but we just encourage all of our attorneys and staff members to be involved in any kind of activity that benefits the community. And over the years, particularly around Christmas, we've done shoe drives and gathered presents for the less fortunate, and just a variety. Usually kind of smaller things. And in that area, we don't really try to make a lot of fanfare out of it. There's a little bit of publicity, I guess, that'll go along with it, and that's fine. But it's more of just trying to teach all of our people here to give back to the community.
Okay. Do you have anything special planned for this particular holiday season?
We're working on it. We usually do, and it's about now. In years past, we've bought turkeys and given them out, or we've, like I said, had a shoe drive and given that out, and we're trying to figure out what to do this year. So we haven't really galvanized those plans yet, but we'll probably do something.
Okay, I'm sure you will. Well, let us know too. I noticed that Rollins College has been a focus at some point, and that you've done some things with them. Can you talk to us a little about the initiative there?
Yeah, well, a few of our attorneys have done some clinics and things at Rollins College. I think we did one where you'll go over and offer free services. I think we've done a couple for immigration and a couple of other the areas of the law. Again, it's not really one that as a firm we try to sponsor a lot, but we just encourage individual attorneys to do those things. And several of our attorneys have participated in different kinds of clinics where they offer, pro bono services.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Rollins has such a major presence here in Orlando, so I'm sure that has become something that's important. Yeah. And on a almost converse side, I noticed that you also presented a grant recently to a professional women's organization, or kind of to address professional women.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know too much about that one. One of our female attorneys did that, and I kind of saw it from a distance and approved it and thought it was great. And but it's consistent with everything that we do, where we try to just help where we can. And someone once said we can't do everything, but we can do something. And there are a lot of needs in the community, and so we just look for opportunities to do some little something whenever we can.
Absolutely. And along those lines, it looks like you also have been involved with Junior Achievement, which, the youth of our society, of course, are our future. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Yeah, over the years we've participated in that. A lot of people participate in that, and we've just tried to be supportive of it, and attended some of their events and contributed where appropriate. So it's just one of many that we give a little support where we can.
Okay, so going forward in terms of your firm, is there any particular areas of law that you maybe are not now involved with, based on the specialties that your particular attorneys already have expertise in? Are there any additional fields of law that you would like to endeavor to move into? Well,
just recently, there are two areas that we've I wouldn't say they're brand new, and there's been a time in our history where we've practiced in these areas, but we're um, going forward with more commitment to expanding the practice, and those two areas are immigration law and bankruptcy. Um, we believe that immigration law is going to be something that's very prominent here in the near future as Congress addresses the immigration reform, and even without it, there's a need for good immigration attorneys, and we have two attorneys here who practice immigration law. And on the bankruptcy end, that was kind of just fortuitous, where we had an attorney join us that has a good deal of expertise in bankruptcy, and it's his passion. And while we've always done a little bit of bankruptcy, we thought with this additional experience that we have in this area, that it would be a good area to expand in. So we're really a full service law firm, and we just want to continue to emphasize each of the areas we practice in, from real estate to personal injury to accidents to domestic to tax to corporate to probate, everything. But these are probably two areas, immigration and bankruptcy, where you'll see a little more emphasis from us in the near future.
Okay. And do you see yourself growing or expanding to the point of where you would also expand into areas outside of the state of Florida? Is that something that would be, perhaps on the docket?
We've thought about that a couple of times, but probably not. When you expand and go across state lines, it's kind of a whole different undertaking. And we're content. We like Florida. We like what we're doing here. I wouldn't say it's an impossibility, but it's not something we're really likely to pursue anytime soon. It's conceivable that we'd expand a little bit more in Florida, but it's not likely anytime soon that we'll go across state lines.
Okay, that's very interesting. We talked a little about the numbers of employees that you have here. So in terms of expansion, and I know you talked a little about maybe expanding somewhat in Florida, it looks like you would be willing to go ahead, even in this building, which is, looks like it's almost fully housed. I'm just thinking in terms of if your expansion also included other major cities, that kind of thing. Would you have more of a headquarters in those cities as well? Because it looks like Orlando is headquarters.
No, I don't think we'll ever move away from our main office and headquarters being here. We've toyed with the idea of both Jacksonville and Tampa, but they're not in the media market that Orlando is in, and so we've shied away from that. More than likely, we would continue our pattern, which is to have our main office here in Orlando, and then maybe go into additional smaller cities that are within our media market. So that's the plan. And right now, with 10 offices, we're going to work pretty hard to get those just the way we want them before we do too much more expansion into other cities. We have our hands full for the moment.
I'm sure. Just from a competitive standpoint, there are a great deal of attorneys here in Central Florida, as you well know. Do you find that it becomes, or it has become, more intensely competitive, or do you find that you have established yourself? I mean, you've been here since '79. You've got a good 30-year run ahead of the pack, I should say. Do you find that as time has moved on that you've been able to separate yourself simply because you do have almost a legacy? Yeah,
that's a really good question, because it is really competitive now. There are just so many attorneys in this community, and law schools have turned out so many law graduates. But I think the worst of the competition is kind of felt among those that don't have, a 30-year track record. We feel the effects of it. There's no doubt about it. But one of the benefits of having been in the community, and most of us having grown up here and having been a law firm now for 30-some years, and done some type of media marketing for most of that time, is that I think we don't suffer from the bitter competition out there quite as much as some others do, and also the fact that we're so diverse that we do so many areas of the practice. And another way that we're diverse is that, you know, some law firms will only take very large cases. Some law firms really don't want the large cases. They work mostly with, you know, mom and pops. But we kind of have the ability to do both some pretty significant and sophisticated work, as well as we'll work with the, you know, everyday man. And so I think because of those things, we've been able to weather the fierce competition, you know, better than maybe perhaps some. But it is competitive. We feel it, but we're blessed and fortunate that we're getting through it okay.
Well, thankfully, yeah. I think positioning is everything when it comes to a competitive industry. Is there anything else that you might have wanted to talk about that I didn't touch upon?
No, not really. Just that, you know, the law practice has become challenging, I think, now in many ways. So many people can't afford it. So it is competitive. There's so many attorneys out there. People's expectations from lawyers are different than they were when I started years ago. So the practice of law is not an easy way to earn a living these days. But fortunately, we've got a good track record. We've been doing this a long time. We've learned how to, you know, work through most of those things. So we feel good about where we are, who we are. We think the future is bright for our law firm, and we're looking forward to it.
I think a final question would have to be, is there any one particular case that stands out in your mind in any specific area of law that either was more challenging than the rest, or conversely gave you a greater sense of satisfaction in having?
Yeah. Well, you know, what's ironic about that is there probably is one, but what's odd about it is it goes back many, many years ago when I was much younger. Goes back probably almost 30 years. And that case was we were involved in a bitter family breakup of a family business known as Walker Chemical. And it was one of the most challenging cases I ever had. Ultimately, we negotiated a sale to a fellow named Harvey Massey, who became one of my best friends and now owns Massey Services, well known in Orlando. Yes. And it was quite an amazing accomplishment to get that done under the circumstances. And now, of course, he's taken that company and built it into an empire. And he and I were just speaking a couple of days ago about it, and reminiscing about the trials we went through to get that deal done, and we got the family who was bickering and fighting, we kind of got them taken care of and separated, and he bought a new business and he's made it a monumental success. So it was a great success story. But it's funny that I would say that as one of my most significant matters I've handled is something that I did 30 years ago when I was just a young pup lawyer, but so it is.